last time we left off, we were talking about polymers, and you guys answered the questions and looked at different polymers. So, like, we have our natural ones: the wood, wool, cotton, silk, rubber, and we have synthetic: thermosets, thermoplastics, and elastomers. So, we're going to move on. We're going to talk about woods a little more in detail, and we're going to talk about the synthetic polymers. Okay, leaves determine the type of wood that it is. So like when you look at trees and you see different types of leaves on them, it'll tell you what type of wood that tree would produce. There are two types. There are hardwoods known as deciduous, and those would be like your oaks, your walnuts, your maples, cherry, balsa, and poplar trees. These are the trees that have these big old wide leaves like you see up there at the top. They fan out and things like that. Kind of a picture down there at the bottom. And then you have your softwoods, or conifers as they're known. These have more of a needle-like leaf on them. Like you see in the picture down there, that's kind of a pine tree from the looks of it. And then the picture up top shows these would be your pine, your cedar trees, your Douglas firs, and things like that. So you have two types of woods: hardwood and softwood, or deciduous and conifer. Okay, wood is made of cellulose and lignin. Those are the fibers that are inside the wood that keep it together. Cellulose, basically, wood is a living thing, so it has cells, and the lignin is like the sap and stuff, and it's the moisture inside that keeps it together. Moisture content deals with things you have to deal with when you're working with wood. That's the amount of water or moisture inside the wood. Usually you want all that to dry out before you start using it, because if a board has moisture content in it, the board will possibly warp in the future or twist and things like that. Okay, we have solid lumber pieces. Those would be like the ones you buy at the lumber store: 2x4s, 2x6s, 1x6s, and things like that. The solid piece of material. Then you have plywood. Okay, you'll see sheets of plywood laying around. You can look at the side of it, and you see little, like, thin layers put together of the sheet, and that is plywood. So plywood is used to build some bookcases and things like that. It just comes in a sheet. You can cut it down into what size you want and put those pieces together. Then you have MDF. MDF looks like cardboard almost when you see it. It's a thick, it's about, they can make it as thick as they want and as thin as they want, like plywood, but it is all compressed sawdust together, basically, with some glue in there. MDF stands for multi-density fiberboard. So MDF a lot of people like to use it because it's easy to work with. The only downfall is if it gets wet, it falls apart pretty easily. Then you have OSB. I forget what the acronym OSB stands for, but some people call it chipboard because it's made up of a lot of wood chips glued together. That's what OSB is. And one side of OSB is usually fairly smooth, and the back side of it is a little rougher feel to it. But OSB is a cheaper version of the plywood that people use for sheeting to put up on the outside of a building before they put siding or something, or they put it up on the roof before they shingle a house. And then the last wood product, you have particle board. Now, particle board is similar to MDF, except it's not at fine sawdust. It is small wooden chunks that are glued together. And this would be like the furniture, if you buy like a bookcase or something at Walmart and put it together, that's more likely what that is made out of, particle board, and it easily breaks and stuff like that too if it gets wet. But it's just another wood product made from byproducts after the solid lumber is cut down. Okay, plastics. Okay, they're made of MERS. They started the material revolution. And there are three types, which we talked about, the synthetic polymers. There are thermoplastics, thermosets, and elastomers. Okay, thermoplastics. Thermoplastics are ones that are more recyclable than the others. They can be heated and cooled to reshape. So like you can see in the picture there, it can go through a process of getting heated up, put into a mold, creating the product. Then it can be crushed down, cut down, turned back into plastic pellets to be heated again, remelted, and remolded. So thermoplastics are more your recyclable plastics that can be reused many times. They are heat softened and cool hardened. And some examples would be like polyethylene, PVC, and acrylic. Thermosets. These are different than thermoplastics. They are heat resistant or resistant to heat and pressure. They have strong bonds. As you can see in the diagram there, they are not a full loop. It starts as a raw material. It's placed in a mold. The mold is heated up. It expands to the mold shape, and then you have the finished product. So like you see there, there's some ashtrays, there's some plastic plates, bowls, cups, and a lunch tray. So those are more thermosets. They get set once, and they can't be reshaped anymore or recycled or anything like that. So they're just one and done. If a thermoset, if you try to melt it, it's just going to start to blacken and burn and catch fire. So that's kind of a way to tell a difference. They're heat softened, heat hardened. These would be like your epoxies, phenolics, polyesters, and any urethanes you use. And then elastomers, the last one. They can stretch and return to the original size, so like rubber bands, hair ties, things like that. They're natural or synthetic, because rubber is natural polymer. And so rubber and neoprene are examples of elastomers. So that's what we're going to cover today. The different types of woods we talked about up there, and then the plastics and stuff as we talked about, and we went through those. Don't forget to answer the questions on the doc and turn that in when you're done.